Well, thank you all for attending. This isn't as heady as the other conversations. We're talking about technology, but technology as it relates to commercializing product, whether it be in clinical trials or other. It does apply to both autologous or allogeneic therapies, which is really important to the discussion. So what we've done is we've realized that in commercializing therapies, there's a tremendous amount of issues associated with connecting and trying to standardize data amongst all the participants, whether it's institutions, manufacturers, labs, and the like. There's been years spent on trying to do it. Today, the issue is hundreds of APIs trying to connect, the time it takes to actually connect, and trying to standardize data. So we looked at the problem associated with this field, and we realized there needed to be a standard, and that is a standard connectivity tool. So what we've done at Aileron AI is we've built what we've called a digital mesh network. And that's really important in that it offers a unified platform for all participants to connect to. It's based on blockchain technology, which means all the data that enters the portal is immutable. It connects to third parties through what we call digital key technology. And this is really important because in the efficiency of the system is the ability to make a single connection to Aileron AI and not require an additional API anywhere. Which means if you're connecting an institution to a manufacturer, you can do it once, regardless of the number of programs, the number of drugs, or from the manufacturer's perspective, from the number of institutions you want to connect. You connect once to what we have, which is a private cloud, and from there, the digital key technology works. So it's all about data integrity. The integrity component is built into the blockchain. Being immutable, every record builds on the next, so that when you start entering data wherever it is in the chain, whether it's in the research or in clinical trials, it's going to continue to stay there forever. So you have a complete audit trail, and it complies with all federal regulations. One of the key aspects of the system is what we refer to as a unified calendar. Today, a tremendous amount of time is spent with clinics trying to onboard patients. You have to coordinate manufacturing dates, you have to coordinate apheresis dates, you have to coordinate logistics. And so what happens is it's a lot of manual phone calls, it's a lot of back and forth. If apheresis runs long, you have cold chain folks waiting for materials. It's problematic. So what we have done is created an integrated tool by integrating the systems for all of the parties into our tech. So what you're looking at here is an integrated calendar. Provided the manufacturers onboard onto the system, we can actually see available manufacturing dates in real time. So at the clinic level, instead of taking 30+ minutes to onboard a client, they literally, or a patient, they can literally look on the calendar, find a manufacturing date, look in their Epic portal, find an apheresis date, and go ahead and schedule it. Once they've entered the schedule and logged the patient, it's secured in order to move on to the next step. I'm showing you the hospital portal because that is our go-to-market strategy. We are officially launching now at Meeting on the Mesa. We've been in beta and we've been trialing our product with hospitals to make sure we can originate all of these patients on board initially. And what I mean by that is the data is one thing, but understanding the workflows another. And this is a workflow tool built into the technology. And therefore, we have to make sure statuses exist inside our portal. not only statuses from the hospital side, but statuses from the manufacturing side in a single tool. And that saves a tremendous amount of time on the clinic to make sure they always understand what's happening with the patient, either a single patient or all of the patients in the clinic or the institution. Our software is patent pending, so a lot of the tools I can't publish because this is going out everywhere, but what I am showing you here is a process of what happens to data when it's entered in the system. From this perspective, this is a hospital who has dropped a file out of Epic or Cerner or any of the other software that exists. They've grabbed the file, they've entered it, and dropped it into the portal. It's very similar to the way you enter a PDF onto an email. What it's doing is, once the file is dropped, it gets military-grade encryption. From there, it gets dropped into the blockchain to create that single file, that single source of truth. And what I mean by that is, today, with manufacturers, there's 20+ portals out there where clinics have to enter patient data. Tomorrow, 40 more. There's, as you all know, over 4,000 products in development. So who knows how many portals are going to need to exist. It is unworkable at the institution level. Something has to give. So what this tool allows to happen is it provides a single source of truth in the blockchain. You go to a single spot, you enter the file, the record gets uploaded. That blockchain data will stay there indefinitely. It's fully auditable, fully accountable. It exceeds any of the data integrity agreements that a manufacturer would have. Why? Because it breaks up the data significantly. Again, military-grade encryption dropped into the blockchain, and only the sender and the receiver can read the data. Using digital keys, it's peer-to-peer transfer, which means the only parties that can actually see data is the sender and the receiver. I will show you exactly what we at Aileron can see from our side, but it's simply a transaction. So what we're seeing here is the manufacturer portal, and this is important, because from the manufacturing side, they want to track patients, and they can in their system. Whether they're using an enterprise-based system or a custom system to take a look at how patients are flowing, they can see it in their own private cloud. No two private clouds look the same, and the reason is it's a workflow-based model, so different manufacturers will use it differently, different institutions will use it differently, whether it's a lab or a logistics provider, everybody will have a custom view. Why is that important? We talked about standardization. There is zero standardization required in this system. So again, if you're using Epic or Cerner and you're dropping it into Microsoft, what you'll see on your side is your Epic system. You'll see the data formatted in that perspective. From this manufacturer, you'll see it in a Microsoft-based viewpoint. It is not in those softwares. The data just appears in a format ready to be uploaded into the system. Although the private cloud contains that structured data, it is not pushing it into the manufacturer's database. It can, but it doesn't. So today, the way it is structured is a manual input. Once you get confidence in the system, you can turn it over to automatic, and it will upload into the manufacturer's system. It's really important in the sense it eliminates steps and it eliminates time to therapy. On the institution side, we can time it. On average, it was over 34 minutes to get patients from the record, scheduled, and sent out for a manufacturing date. Utilizing the system, it happens in less than minutes. On the manufacturer side, we've only tested with one so far, and they've actually started to utilize our system as their internal system because all the tools necessary to operate are right there. The statuses from the manufacturer or the CDMO in certain circumstances, and all the reporting tools. You can run reports inside the system. From the admin portal for us is what we see, and this is really important. The only thing we see is a transaction ID. I don't see any of the underlying data. We don't have access to any of the digital keys. Why? They're single use. Once I've issued a digital key, it cannot be replicated. So the only thing I see is what IP address created the data. That IP address is with the sender, who the sender was, in this case, institution A. They've transferred the data to manufacturer B under that transaction code and that timestamp. That timestamp is the time at which the block was created. So no matter what, I have no idea what information is being sent. You could be sending a lab report. You could be sending structured data. You could be sending images. I have no access to it, nor do I care what's being sent through it. As you can see on the left-hand side, this works for all different kinds of vendors. And as a unified portal, we don't limit who has access to the portal. Anyone can utilize the portal because the only thing we do is connectivity and security in the workflow. That is it. So we don't see any competitors in the space for us because we do not offer a service outside of that. When we talk about blockchain and what's in there, I'm sure you've all heard of Bitcoin and how Bitcoin and registries work. The way we view it is a bit differently. Instead of putting a token, instead of putting a number or 100 digits of letters and numbers inside of a token, what we've done is we've encrypted data and shoved it into the block. So what happens is we can provide a tremendous amount of data into a single block. We talked about auditing and how it works. Well, the source of truth is typically the institution. They created the patient or they created the record of any kind, and that becomes the source of truth. And when you look at this, we have both on and off-chain data. The on-chain data is what we keep in the block. The off-chain data is what exists inside that private cloud on behalf of the sender. To ensure the data integrity goes beyond that, we use both public and private blockchain. So the private blockchain contains some of the information, the public contains the other, and when you put all four pieces together, you get a complete record. Since the likelihood of anyone finding all those four records, especially if you're not part of a transmission, we think it's the most sophisticated data integrity security plan that exists. So does anybody have any questions regarding what I talked about, or I can talk about some use cases beyond what we've just discussed? Yes?
Yeah, so you mentioned that the data are immutable, which you would expect with blockchain, but of course, speaking from experience, you always see errors in the data due to just often human error or whatever. How do you fix that without compromising the system?
Thank you. The way we fix it is we don't require any manual input. So if you're at a clinic, you're generating a patient and you're using a portal, you're swivel chairing. You're looking at Cerner and you're inputting data. Our data comes directly from the software. If there was an error in Epic, then we're going to repeat the error. That's the issue. But we don't have any manual intervention in the workflow to make a patient, Jane B. Smith, turn into Jane P. Smith, and now we think we have two patients. It's exactly the same one. So by eliminating the human intervention in the data transmission, we believe the blocks are correct. But we also look at 8 points of data to make sure the blocks are correct. We check a host of different features, addresses, numbers, social security numbers, MNRNs, manufacturer IDs to always make sure we're looking at the exact same patient every time a transmission occurs. We cannot fix it. It'll be fixed on audit when a third party says, listen, it's been corrected. I don't want to go back to the original block and say, hey, the original block was wrong. I want that error there, and it has to be contained. So that error is immutable. It will stay there until somebody corrects it from an audit, and there it will be fixed.
Thank you, Aileron AI.